Hello, it's Reija and welcome to another video. Today I am going to do quite the interesting tag. This tag was created by Biblio Atlas and it is called the second language tag. And as you might have guessed, English is not my first language, so I inherently have a fascination with tags that cover different languages and where I get to talk about my experience in learning languages and talking in a different language. So, without further ado, let's get started. Question 1. Where are you from and where do you live? So, I am from Finland, born and raised. I was born in this area and now I live in this area. I live in the Helsinki metropolitan area, so in the coast, and it is very nice and liberal and stuff. I wouldn't have it any other way. My previous hometown was a lot less open-minded, so I'm very glad of where I have ended up in. Question 2. What's your native language and what other languages do you speak, read or write? My native language is Finnish, moi moi, and I also speak English, obviously, and Swedish. Swedish is a mandatory language for most Finns to learn, and I also speak German. I've studied it for a long time. I have to say that my Finnish obviously is very good because it is my first language. It is how I think, it is how my thoughts work. Even when I'm reading in other languages, I'm kind of translating into Finnish. English is my second most fluent language just because I've used it so much in video games, in reading, on the internet. Most pages I browse are in English. Talking to friends, I just have such extensive use of English in my everyday life that I have become pretty fluent in it. I can read and write and understand spoken Swedish quite well. I'm not so confident in talking in Swedish, though I do that as well. I have had to talk in Swedish plenty of times in customer service related things. And my teacher, funnily enough, told me that my spoken Swedish is apparently much better than my written Swedish. And I was like, shock, because I was so sure that my spoken Swedish is atrocious, but apparently not so much. But if you are a Swedish-speaking person and you run into me sometime, we can test that theory out. And finally, German. I am pretty confident in reading German. Like, if I see a YouTube comment that's in German, I can reply to it in German and I understand it pretty well. Jules from Page by Page sends me German memes all the time and I understand those pretty well. I read books in German. So I'm not fluent in German in a way that I would wish, but I'm still quite confident in my ability to understand the language. Question 3. What languages do you want to learn and why? So currently I am studying Japanese. I have studied it for a long time, but kind of on and off. I'm pretty good at understanding spoken Japanese. For example, when I go to conventions and go to the guest of honor programs, I usually don't have to wait for the interpreter to interpret things. It's more like the interpreter's interpretation is a confirmation for what I already understood. So I'm pretty confident in my understanding of spoken Japanese, but I'm quite illiterate in the language, and that's a thing that I've recently started really focusing on, is to reach a level of fluency where I can actually read manga in Japanese and be confident in it. Another language that I'm learning is Irish. I started learning Irish a couple months ago, and I'm really keen on learning more of it by the time Worldcon comes around next year, because it is held in Dublin, and I just want to kind of have a sense of the language and have a kind of sense of camaraderie and a sense of the culture. So that's why I've wanted to learn it, and it also sounds so cool. And finally, languages that I want to learn are Chinese and Korean. I've dabbled a bit in both of them. Chinese is such an interesting language. It is kind of like Tetris. You have these blocks, language blocks, and then you kind of pile them together and you form speech. And it's so logical. Like, I took 2 courses of Chinese last summer, and it was such a surprise to me how logical Chinese is. Like, you can really appreciate the logic of how easily the language works and goes together. For me, the hardest part in learning Chinese has been learning the characters and has been learning the pronunciation. I still have to work pretty much every day on my Chinese pronunciation, and recently I've kind of left it on the wayside. I need to start again. And Korean I want to learn because it's kind of in the trifecta Japanese, Chinese, Korean. I just feel that if I have even a small fluency in those languages that I can communicate, it would just benefit my job hunting in the future, because IT is a very prominent area, and IT in Asia is something that interests me, and I just feel like knowing those languages will give me a lot of work opportunities. Question 4. How did you learn your second language and tips for others? So I started learning English when I was about 8 years old. I just started it in school. We had this thing, because normally in Finnish schools you start learning a second language in 3rd grade. So when you're like 10 or 9 or something. And I started learning a bit earlier because we had these language spa days, so to speak, at school, where we would kind of immerse ourselves in different languages. So we would have these, like, learn colors and learn the numbers and stuff in, for example, Swedish and English. So that way students already had a little bit of knowledge of the language before they would start in the next year. So I started learning English when I was about 8. And my tips for learning English are just immersing, or any language, is just to start immersing yourself in it. Watch programs that are in that language that you want to learn. Go to Instagram and start following people who post in their own language and start learning that way. For example, I'm learning Japanese and learning to read in Japanese, and one of the things that I've done is to watch people in Instagram and in YouTube and read the Japanese comments and try to translate them. Also listening to music, translating music, all of that is very good practice. Just do what interests you the most and immerse yourself in that part of the culture when you're learning the language. Question 5. Advice for others who are thinking of starting a channel in a second language. I really don't have any other advice than to just go for it. I've had a really good experience starting my channel in English. If you go to see my earliest videos, I can link a couple down in the description. You will notice that my accent was a lot more pronounced when I started my channel. So I would just say to go for it, to start the channel, do what makes you the most comfortable, and just go for it, because I can tell from experience that my accent has improved a lot just by me talking to the camera, and it's been a really good experience. Question 6. Do you film in only one language or do you have a channel for both languages? I have only this one channel and it's going to stay that way because I don't think I would be able to keep multiple channels active. It's quite enough work to keep this one channel going. And I have filmed a video in Finnish before. I can link that down as well if you want to go check that out. And if I want to do content in Finnish, I will do it on this channel because I can just provide subtitles, and if people don't want to watch them, then they don't. But I will do what makes me the most comfortable, and I will do the content that I want to do. I've talked about a lot of Finnish stuff. I've made videos about Finnish classics. I've talked about Finnish or Finnish and my personal Christmas traditions, and I've made a video on how to pronounce Finnish author names. And Finnishness is definitely a part of me. It's part of my identity, and it's not something that I will ever separate. So yeah, if I'm going to do content in Finnish, it's going to be on this channel as well. Question 7. Is Booktube active in your native language, and tell us about the community? I only know of one booktuber who is Finnish, and that is Maija from Maia Reads, who is wonderful. Go check her out and subscribe to her as well. And aside from that, I don't know any other booktubers who are Finnish, and I know a few Finnish people who are active Booktube watchers, but I don't think there is a big Booktube related Finnish community. From my experience, the Finnish bookish community is mostly situated on the blogging sphere like WordPress and Instagram. But if you are interested, if you live in Finland and you are interested in having a kind of bookish meetup of bookish people, then let me know. Let's make that happen. Let's make this an active community, because that would surely be fun. And finally, question 8. Would you rather film in a second language or in your own, and why? If I had to start this channel all over again, I would still film in a second language. I would still film in English. And there is a really good reason for it. It is because I read the majority of my books in English or in other languages. And if I want to talk about them, and in some cases they haven't been translated into Finnish, it feels really unnatural to start talking about a book that has an English title and then somehow weave it into Finnish. It would sound something like this. No, tänään sitten puhutaan Robin Hobbin The Dragon Keeperistä, joka on Realm of the Elderlings saagasta. It would sound really bizarre, because if I wanted to talk about those books, the whole thing would be basically English with Finnish suffixes and prefixes. It's like, it wouldn't sound natural to me. So that's why when I was thinking about starting my own channel, doing it in Finnish wasn't even really on the table. And also because I didn't really know if there was a community in Finland for bookish people, I also wanted to do it in a way that has more reach, so I could meet new people and, get to know people. And I have, and it's been amazing. And on the way, I found people who are Finnish who I get to talk to about books. So that's been great too. But yeah, I definitely would not do it in my own language. I would do it in English, just because it is a lot easier to do it that way. And there you have it. This has been my take on the second language tag. Thank you, Biblio Atlas, for tagging me. And I will also tag some people down in the description, so be sure to check that out and see if you are tagged. And if you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye bye!